Hey, my name is Sam at Splash. People can often bite off more than they can chew with video, often want to skip ahead and do more videos that they're really not at that business stage to do. Let's talk about the timeline in which you should have available video based on where your business is at. Let's talk about it. Splash. All right, now wherever you're at in a business, whether you're just starting out or whether you're a mid-market company or a massive enterprise, let's talk about the timeline in which you should be doing video. A lot of times we'll see new companies try to do what bigger companies do and they're not really at that stage yet, meaning their focus is on the wrong things. They're trying to do too much and not get a proper ROI on certain things, or they're trying to skip ahead steps before they even have the right information to actually make a profitable ROI. Or we'll see mid-market companies kind of stagnate and just do the same thing that already made them successful and not try to venture off and start to get to a bigger place, right? So let's talk about how we use video, because remember, we use video as a tool. It's a tool to drive sales, it's a tool to drive business, it's a tool to drive exposure, which does all that, right? So when you're crafting video, let's say you're doing under 200 grand, there's very essential videos that you need to have, right? Because your job is to go out there and start, hitting the phones and hitting people and let people know, you got something going on, running little advertising campaigns. Maybe you're doing SEO, wherever you're at right now. You're scrappy right now. You're brand new. You're an idea. You got to hit the ground running. But you should have some video to where when you tell people about your business, product, or service, that when they go check you out, okay, if they don't buy on the spot, they go check you out, they can start to get warm and closer to your brand, and video should be a tool to where these guys can convert and do business with you when they find out about you. So number one video you should have, if you're doing under 200 grand, is a brand video. Now that brand video is gonna have key players in it, a background of why the company started. It's going to have key people in there. It's going to have what it is you actually do. It's going to have that elevator pitch in there. It's going to talk about the timeline of how you've done all this and the people that you helped and the vision and the mission and all that stuff in there. And it's going to be a good brand video is done in a way that's memorable, right? And it's a way that's sometimes entertaining. Sometimes it's within your brand's taste, right? But it has to be memorable. A good brand video. A good brand video will be memorable enough to where people can say, oh, you know what? I remember that company. That company did that cool thing with the thing. That was a wacky company that did that, or that was that really sophisticated company that offered this, right? That thing that I'd never seen. Okay, so the brand story is going to tell about your brand. It's going to get people connected to your brand. It's going to get people connected to the why. Why are you in business? Why are you here? And who are you serving? And then what is the long-term vision of the company? So it'll get people a lot closer to the story, your story. Okay, brand video. You also want a product or service video. Now, depending on what you do, the product or service video, that can be sliced a lot of different ways. And depending on your brand's tone, your brand's, tolerance, your brand's flavor, it's going to be sliced a certain way, right? But the product or service video is basically there to say, this is the deep dive into our product, or this is the deep dive into our service, right? Maybe it's a product, and then we're talking about how it has a patent and what that whole process was like and how this filled a need and how it helps everyday moms and what it did for moms, and maybe we have some reviews of moms and maybe we have some lifestyle shots of it, right? We're showing off the stuff, maybe the owner's talking about this thing or whatever that is, right? The service is the same thing, right? Maybe it's a general contractor, but we're talking about how we're diamond certified and how we have, 13 years of successful track record in doing this one, ADU builds only. We only specialize in ADU builds. Whatever it is, we're going to deep dive into that service or that product so that people understand fully 100% what you do. What do? We do video production, corporate events, social media, commercials, any video that you can use to advertise or post that organically, we handle that. That's what we do. So it's going to have that little deep dive in there. The next one, the last one, the main thing that you guys should have when you're doing under 200 grand is going to be customer reviews. Now, it's not enough to have like written reviews and Google reviews. You need video, right? Because why? Why do we need video all the time? Because video has emotion, right? When somebody has, if your product or service changed somebody's life in such a way to where they get emotional when they cry about it, right? Maybe you, I don't know, you solved a 17-year-old's really heavy acne problem with a skincare product, and you get this 17-year-old bawling her eyes out and talking about how her confidence has just skyrocketed and she can finally be herself. You know what kind of needle that moves when a new customer sees that or a new prospect takes a look at that video? God damn, that product did that for that little girl. It's not about the product anymore, right? Damn, look what it did in her life. It's a big deal. So that kind of stuff you cannot capture from a Google review. It doesn't hit the same, right? You need the emotion behind it. So we always want to have that. So if you're doing under 200 grand, you need at least these things. I would focus on these big productions before you start going out there and doing anything else. Because remember, whatever type of advertising you're going to do, you're going to bring them back to a certain place. And we want to make sure that there's content when they want to check you out. They know who you are. Now, you told them who you are. They go check you out. They need to have something that's going to get them closer to doing business with you if they're in the market for that product or service. And if they're not in the market, when they are in the market, they start to remember you because of these videos. Okay? Now, if you're doing 200 grand to $1 million, let's talk about what that looks like. I would focus on these videos here. Number one, organic. And that could be anything, right? YouTube, I'm always going to put YouTube first because that is where the customer has the longest attention span. So I'm always going to favor YouTube over anything. Most people would agree with this. Most people would trade in all their verticals for the YouTube alone. So YouTube is always the best one, but organic. Build that organic presence, because what we're going to be doing here is we are going to be spreading out a message, because we are going to, number one, start to further test that message and to also see if we can refine that message. We are also going to see if we can tap into some new demographic, because in this stage, you still can be stumbling upon your demographic. You still can be learning your demographic and what their real true needs are and how they really want to ingest their content and what tone resonates the best with them to get them to move and do something, right? So we're still kind of testing these things, and organic allows us to test this stuff in a lot cheaper way, in a way where you get an infinite ROI. Because when I run ads, you pay for ads. You stop paying for ads, you stop getting seen. With organic, it's the opposite. If you can put a great message on video and you can post that organically, that is going to live forever. And you can always point people back to that organic piece of content and use it for ads and all kinds of other stuff, right? So, but that's what organic does. That's why I say play with organic and lean on organic, because we're still testing and we're still trying to refine the messaging and we're still tapping into new demographics, and we might stumble upon new things that might drive us further in the business, right? So this is gold. Don't neglect that. Number two is ad creatives. Now, ad creatives are going to be important because now you got some organic messaging out there, right? You got messages all out there. Now we are going to start driving traffic to that message, to that landing page, and start seeing, okay, what is starting to convert, what is starting to resonate, what's starting to do good. Now we're in a data collection mode, right? We're still driving business and we're still going forward, but now we're starting to be smarter about stuff. This is why I'm saying, like, the timeline of this stuff matters, because you don't want to focus on the wrong thing, right? You coming out and you're under $1 million and you're focused on UGC. That is not a smart strategy for you to be leaning into video, at least for video anyway. Like, that's not a good focus of your time. That ROI won't be there, right? So again, the timeline of this stuff matters based on what business income you're at. So again, I'm saying all this stuff so you guys can be strategic in where your focus is at. This is what I would focus on. I've had these conversations with people all the time. I literally just had this conversation with the barber of mine the other day. He started asking me about, if you were brand new and doing this, if you were brand new and doing this, if you had a clothing line doing this, how would you do it? So I'm going through the same thing. I had these natural conversations with. You got to focus. I told him that you got to focus on the right things at your stage, right? You don't have to do everything. So again, this is what I'm telling you this stuff for. So if you're doing 200 grand to $1 million, organic, start putting out the messaging, start tapping into new demographics, or start kind of refining and start understanding your demographic a little bit more, and then start running some ad creatives. Start putting some fuel on that fire, right? Now we're getting a little traction. Start putting some fuel on that fire and get some traffic in there. Now, if you're doing $1 to $3 million, I would do landing page videos. Okay, so now we're running a lot of traffic, right? Landing page videos are going to be something that we want to start testing, because now we're starting to get granular with this stuff, right? We're cracking over $1 million. Now everything becomes a test. Now our microscope is on really, really big, right? We got a net laser pinpoint focus of what every single metric is doing, right? Now I'm really dialing in on what I'm paying attention on advertising, what I'm paying attention for, or I'm paying attention to what I'm paying for a lead, what I'm paying for an email, what I'm paying for an add to cart, what I'm paying for a booked call, what I'm paying for a demo, what I'm paying for a no-show, how much I'm making every time I send out an email, how much I'm making every time I send out an email on Monday as opposed to Wednesday, how much I'm making every time I send this subject line as opposed to this. So all these metrics, we're starting to get real dialed in on here, right? Landing page is no different. A landing page is a tool to convert, right? That's your online salesperson. So when we have video, we are testing this stuff. And we'll use software like Hotjar and things like that to kind of test where these guys are, moving and where the fall off is and where they're clicking off the page or bouncing off. If they're watching a video, how much are they watching? If they're doing other stuff, what buttons are they clicking? Where are they hovering? Where are they scrolling? Where are they highlighting? So we'll use tools like that to see. But this is where that landing page and that conversion becomes a lot more tighter, because we don't want to spend more on advertising, right? We will as businesses. Most business owners I know are hell-bent and they're relentless, and they just want to continue to grow the business, and that's why they do it. They don't do it for the money. They do it for the love of the business. But when we're here, the goal is not to spend more, but to optimize what we're doing and get tighter with our spend, right? Not to spend more, but get tighter with our spend, to get more optimized with our spend. So I want more for the same amount of spend. And this is why we go down and do some landing page videos, right? What do we need on those landing page? Maybe it's a presentation, maybe it's a software demo, maybe it's a product demo, maybe it's whatever it is. Maybe it's a QVC style video where it's two people, one host teeing up the owner and talking about this product that she made, right? Maybe she's teeing her up with softball questions where she can hit grand slams every single time. So we want to start looking at the landing page videos, right? Other one, podcasts. Podcasts, not just for you, not just your own podcast, but you going on other people's podcasts. Start to spread what you're doing out on different verticals, different genres, different listeners. You never know who's gonna lead back. Again, we're always testing with marketing. We're doing video is a form of marketing. It's a tool to drive sales. It's a form of advertising. When we talk about advertising, we are always testing. In business in general, right? We're trying to get tighter every time. But in marketing, we're always testing to see if we can get more optimized. And so when we have a podcast and we start spreading out and doing other people's podcasts, we start leveraging other people's audience, and maybe we find out that, wow, we are really good with the organic foodies. Like, we didn't know we had that demographic. That's a new demographic for us. They love our fabric because it has this material in it. Right? So we can start selling clothes to that audience now. Something new, right? So we're trying to get more exposure for the same amount of spend, right? We're trying to be more efficient. I want more exposure, same amount of spend. This is what we're trying to do. Another one, UGC, and then I'm gonna put influence on this thing too. UGC and influence. This is where we can start kind of like, spreading that vertical out a little bit. Again, we're talking about spreading ourselves into different niches, spreading ourselves into different verticals, trying to test different markets, tap into new markets, gain more exposure, gain more market share that way. So again, we are getting tighter with landing page and advertising. Again, and all this stuff never stops, by the way. But as we run advertising, we're getting tighter with our landing page, we're getting more exposure on podcasts, and we're getting more exposure on UGC and influence. So especially if you're a product-based company, or if you're an e-commerce brand, this is really, really essential. But you want to do this in the place where you have a little bit of legs, right? You're doing $2 million, $3 million. You got some legs now to do some UGC and influence, right? Whereas when you were doing $100 grand and you weren't paying yourself a salary, or you're paying yourself 10 grand a year, you don't have legs to pay influencers and UGC when there's not really an ROI attached to that, right? There's a metric of views, and there's a baseline, a ballpark guesstimate of engagement and website visits and whatever, It's not a needle mover on the get. Now, when you start to get to $3 million, you can start to spread yourself out a little bit more, right? You can start to get into different sectors and start tapping into new markets, right? If you're doing $3 to $10 million, right? And this is where it gets fun, right? Ad creatives. Now, ad creatives, we already talked about, but ad creatives in new verticals. Just like we start tapping into new markets with organically through this way, with podcasts and other stuff, now we start to tap into different advertising, new verticals with advertising, meaning paid advertising. We're ramming it down someone's throat, or we're creating new funnels, and we're having a whole new ecosystem possibly, right? We're trying to prove a concept in a different advertising. So maybe when we're doing 1 million, 2 million, maybe we're crushing it on YouTube ads, and we're crushing it on Google ads, and we're crushing it on Facebook ads. Those are our needle movers. That brings us consistent leads. We know exactly how many leads we're gonna get a day. We know exactly how much we're gonna pay for those leads. We know exactly how much convert, all those kind of things. So we have those numbers. Now, once we start cracking over 3 million, now we want to start testing new verticals. So maybe CTV is a new vertical for you, right? So maybe we start doing new ad creatives. First off, we're going to slam tons of ad creatives, right? We're going to start making tons of commercials now, because now we can start spending a little bit more. Now it's all about creative, because the creative is going to drive the success of your advertising. I'll say that one more time. Your creative is going to drive the success of your advertising. So now in this stage, you're doing 3 to 10 million. We're not playing games about ad creatives. Now we're going heavy. Now we're going with some very strategic videos, some very memorable type of commercials, native to each platform. We're being very smart about how we're making commercials. Okay, but we're also putting those commercials in new verticals. Like I said, if you were crushing it on YouTube and Meta and Google, now we're going to test CTV. Can we prove that concept? And can we prove that that works? Can we prove that that can bring us to leads and we can still be profitable on that? Because if it can, that's fantastic, right? That's what we want to test. So new verticals and a lot more commercials with that. So, and then again, we can have different strategies. So if we test CTV ads, we can still intertwine the stuff that was already working. Maybe a first touch point is on CTV, and then maybe the second touch point is on YouTube, because our demographic spends a lot of time there and it's already proven for us, right? Just like Google and Facebook, YouTube was successful already for us. So when we run CTV ads, then the second touch point is YouTube, and then the third touch point is Meta, and then the fourth touch point is what, right? So we can start to play that way. So we're gonna test new verticals with a lot more creatives and a lot more commercials. Number 2, organic. Now, organic content, I'm talking about all now. Not just 1 or 2 like I was talking about earlier, where I said, oh, I would do everything for YouTube because YouTube has the longest attention span. It's a little different, right? Maybe you sell nail polish, right? TikTok might be your thing, Instagram might be your thing. So you're gonna nail down 1 or 2 platforms that are good for you here. Now, when you're cracking $3 to $10 million, you are spreading out everywhere. You are omnipresent, and which a lot of times what you're gonna do is what we do, is we'll take batch content and we'll create a YouTube video, and then we'll make reels out of that, and we'll make shorts out of that, and we'll make a blog out of that, we'll make a podcast out of that, and then we'll make an email newsletter out of that. We'll just multiply the content so that you have brand omnipresence. And this is what you want to go for right here. You want to go for brand omnipresence. Right now, $3 to $10 million, you're looking at, okay, now I'm starting to get into the game where we can start dominating. Now the next marker is $50 million, then $125 million, right? So we're starting to get bigger targets, and we're starting to get that domination in there, so we're going to have to start acting like it. Right? So when I say organic, now you're spreading everywhere. Now, when you shoot those pieces of content, if YouTube was your favorite platform, right, and you still shoot for YouTube, I'm still going to take that video and we're going to make reels out of it. But I'm also going to shoot on the day we shoot. I'm going to have a couple different line items on a shot list. And I'm going to shoot those vertical, and I'm going to intertwine that in YouTube video. So when I multiply that YouTube video for TikTok, I am going to shoot native to TikTok and splice that in with the original message. So the message doesn't change, but just the language changes, and then the hook changes. The way we get their attention changes. So we're going to shoot that a little bit different so that the language is native to the user, right? Because that TikTok user is going to think a little bit different. They're going to be used to getting talked to a little bit different. They're used to ingesting certain videos. They're used to, having a certain flow, right? This is why everybody likes all these different social platforms. They all have their own preference. So we are going to tailor these messages that we need to get out there. We are going to tailor it to their preference on their platforms. So that's what we're going to do, right? So ad creatives, heavy commercials, new verticals, test proof of concepts, see if we can get positive with a new vertical. And then organic, start dominating your space. This is where we can start going crazy with video, because again, it's all messaging. And when you look at video like the way we look at it, like a tool for sales to drive business, you are gonna look at video being a message captured in time that is gonna do its job over and over again. If the job was to collect an email, that video should be done so well that it collects an email over and over and over again. If the job was to lead somebody to a landing page, that video should do that job over and over and over again. When you do video, understand you should get 100% infinite ROI. Not just 100%, but an infinite ROI. You should be doing video in a very specific way, very strategic, and it should be done based on where your company is currently at. If you're doing under 200 grand, under 1 million, under 3 million, under 10 million, you should all have focuses of video, not just advertising, right? Because like, again, the video, if you're advertising online, the video is going to drive the success of your advertising, right? But you also want to have other videos to supplement those efforts so that you can convert at a lot higher level. Okay, so I hope this helps. If you guys need help with this, 415-888-9658. Again, my name is Sam from Splash. Hope to see you soon.